Good evening, and welcome to the September 29th, 2025 meeting of the Menlo Park Planning Commission. I am Chair Andrew Eric, and I thank you for joining us this evening, either remotely or here in council chambers. Established by state law, our city's Planning Commission is composed of 7 volunteer residents of Menlo Park, appointed to 4-year terms by the City Council. Our Planning Commission is not a policy setting body, that's the City Council. We are a policy implementing body. We review development proposals for compliance with our city's general plan and zoning ordinance, which can both be found on the city's website. The Commission also reviews city-initiated land use planning projects, such as general plan updates or zoning ordinance amendments. The Commission reviews development proposals requiring a use permit, architectural control, a variance, minor subdivision, as well as the environmental reviews associated with those projects. When applicable, the Planning Commission reviews below market rate or BMR housing agreements associated with these applications. The Commission is the final decision-making body for these applications unless appealed to the City Council. The Commission also serves as the recommending body to the City Council for major subdivisions, rezoning, conditional development permits, zoning ordinance amendments, general plan amendments, and environmental reviews associated with those projects. If applicable, the Planning Commission reviews and makes recommendations on BMR agreements associated with these projects. Staff in our city's planning division are responsible for processing development applications, as well as for both implementing and amending the general plan, zoning ordinances, and related policies in order to further the goals of the city. Staff is also responsible for the agenda of regular Planning Commission meetings and for prioritizing what and when agenda items or development applications come before the Planning Commission. Planning Commissioners do not have any ability to place items on the agenda for these meetings. We encourage your active participation, whether you are an applicant or an interested member of the public, and there will be an opportunity to speak publicly for each specific agenda item, as well as for general public comment. With that, I will call the roll. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Here.
Commissioner Doe.
Here.
Commissioner Farrick.
Here.
Commissioner Schindler.
Here.
Commissioner Sillen.
Present.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Present.
I am also present. We have 7 commissioners in chambers, which is a quorum. The next item on our agenda is reports and announcements. Ms. Sandmeyer, are there any staff reports or announcements this evening?
Good evening, Chair Eric and Commissioners. So the initial actions for the Parkline project are on the City Council agenda for tomorrow night. That concludes my updates, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do commissioners have any questions about those announcements? Thank you, Ms. Sandmeyer. Okay, let's move to item D. Do commissioners have any other reports or announcements themselves? Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair Eric. I had the opportunity to attend the city's open house on parking management study last Thursday. It was well attended during the time that I was there. I'm estimating there were 30 to 40 people there. And there were various information boards around the room where people had the opportunity to weigh in about their thoughts about downtown services, utilities, restaurants, the kinds of things they'd like to see downtown, as well as parking-related topics, including their concerns and their priorities for downtown parking. I would encourage commissioners, if they have not already, and members of the public, to take a look at the downtown parking management study page for the city and complete the very short but very interesting study. So please participate in the process. There's a 5-minute study available on the city's webpage. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schindler. Commissioner Farrick.
Thank you, Chair Eric. I just wanted to share with everyone in the community and fellow commissioners that there is an opportunity to attend a housing-related event with the Housing Trust Silicon Valley, October 15th, 4 to 7 p.m. in San Jose. And this celebrates their 25th anniversary. One of their speakers is the Honorable Tamika Moss, who is California's Consumer Services and Housing Agency head. And so that might be a nice opportunity to learn more from her and just understand how housing finance works in California. If you need more information, it is on their website, Housing Trust, housingtrustsv.org.
Thank you, Commissioner Farrick. Okay, seeing no other reports or announcements, let's move to item D, the public comment portion of our agenda. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name, district, or city of residence, but it is helpful. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Please know that if you are here tonight to comment on one of our agenda items, you will have a chance to speak when we get to that item in the agenda. So to learn how to participate, I'm going to turn to our clerk this evening, Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Chair.
To explain
Sorry.
how you can participate and then to begin our public comment period.
Thank you. Yes, if you would like to provide public comment and you are participating via Zoom today, please click the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. If you are calling in from a landline or cell phone, click *9 and that will let us know you have a comment. And if you are in council chambers today, there are comment cards at the back of the room. Please fill one out and hand it to me. I will give it a couple seconds here for general public comment. Seeing none, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Turner. I will now close the public comment portion of our agenda. The next agenda item is our consent calendar. Tonight, there is one item on the consent calendar, which is approval of minutes from the August 25th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Turner, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment on this agenda item and open the public comment period for the consent calendar?
Yes, once again, for public comment on the consent calendar, please click the raise hand button or *9 on your phone, or fill out a comment card in the back of the room and hand it to me. There are no hands raised and no comment cards for the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Turner. In that case, I will close the public comment period for the consent calendar. Would any of my fellow commissioners like to pull the one item from the consent calendar? Okay, in that case, I would like to ask one of my fellow commissioners for a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Second. Thank you very much. I will call the vote on tonight's consent calendar. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Doe,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also a yes. The consent calendar passes with 7 yay votes and none opposing. We will now move to item F1, the first public hearing item on tonight's agenda. This agenda item is regarding a use permit at 945 Lee Drive. At this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to demolish an existing one-story single-family residence and construct a new two-story single-family residence on a substandard lot with regard to minimum lot width and area in the R1U single-family urban residential zoning district. Determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines, section 15303, class 3 exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures. I believe the staff planner for this item is Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner, are there any updates to the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Eric. I do not have any updates to the staff report, but I am available for questions, and my applicant is here in chambers as well, if there are any questions for them.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we move to public comment on this item, do any commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff or for the applicant? Okay. Mr. Turner, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period for item F1?
Yes, so once again, if you would like to provide public comment and you are participating via Zoom, please click the raise hand button. If you are calling in to tonight's meeting via a phone, click *9 on your phone, and that will let us know you have a comment. And if you would like to provide comment in chambers, please fill out a comment card. So we have one comment online. And while we're taking that, see if we have any comment cards come in.
Thank you.
So, let's see. The caller is Laura's iPhone. You should be able to unmute yourself and speak now. Or let me unmute you.
Okay. Is it working now? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, so I'm Laura Lane. I live at 937 Lee Drive. And I'm sorry I didn't get to talk to the homeowners of 945 Lee Drive. I do really like the house that they're proposing, and I think it's beautiful, and I'm excited to see that. My only reservation is the appearance of the frontage of the house. Lee Drive is really special. We purchased our house there in 2007, and it's really a very leafy, woodsy cul-de-sac, and there's like two huge oak trees in the center of the cul-de-sac, and all the houses are fronted by lots of greenery and lots of trees, and so we'd really like to preserve the character of the neighborhood, and point out that the plans for 945 Lee Drive is all hardscape in the front. And so I wasn't sure how to move forward with addressing that, and would like the Planning Commission's help in preserving our our cul-de-sac, which, we really do appreciate as being almost like enchanting almost, because when you go in, you just feel like you can relax because of all the leaves and foliage. So it concludes my comment, and wondered if, I don't know if this calls for a continuance so that I could have a chance to actually speak with Lee, Huiren, and Yunwen.
Thank you for your comment. We cannot address comments directly, but you do have 50 more seconds if you would like to continue.
Okay, sure. And then so I've spoken to a couple other people. One is a current homeowner, and one was a homeowner back in the 90s, but now was renting. And they would also agree with the starkness of the frontage of 945, at least the plans. the property next door is also going to be rebuilt in the near future. And so I feel like I want to preserve the character of the neighborhood by mentioning the need for greenery of 945 and therefore also for the house next door. And so I would love for time to present a more convincing case or at least discussion with the neighbors.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Turner, do we have any other requests to speak?
We do not.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to close the public comment period on item F1 and move us into commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding the use permit. And I will ask any of my fellow commissioners if they would like to begin that discussion. Commissioner Farrick.
Thank you. I guess, I don't really have a lot of questions on this. It's great to see so many supportive letters of this. I recall this, an application many years ago on this street, and it's nice to see that there's more support for, neighbors improving their homes in this way. And it sounds like there's uniformly support for the general design. So I guess my question is just to kind of clarify, typically when we see plan sets, these are renderings that don't include necessarily a landscape plan. It's really the structure. And so, I am not at all requiring, but I'd be curious if the owner does have plans to have a particular landscape in front, or if it is reflected here in the rendering on packet page 40, in case you're following along. If the applicant is out there, I'd be happy to field that question through the chair, through staff, or any appropriate commenter on that.
Yes, I might direct that to the applicant. If you want to head up to the dais, or sorry, the podium.
The designer of this house,
Sorry, can you just state your name before you begin? Thank you.
Quinn, yeah. So the reason, I think because of it's a cul-de-sac lot, so the frontage is very small. If we as long as we have like a 2-car garage on this lot, we will have like a 2-car driveway. Either we, put this way or parallel to the right property line, the frontage taken by the driveway will be the same. So I think, yeah, that's either way is the same. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I can see that too from the rendering. Does the property line, is that represented with that short little hedge? I know this is all representative and not necessarily what's actually there because it's a rendering, but that little diagonal hedge, is that sort of along the property line?
Which
It's on page 41 of the packet, this kind of little hedge off to the left of the small landscaped area.
Oh, you mean the way leading to the front porch?
Yes.
Yes, so we will have a little hardscape here for, for the entryway leading to the front porch. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And yeah, I can see that there's minimal opportunity for, significantly tall landscaping in that area. And it does appear that there's, just from Google Maps aerial view, there's lots and lots of trees, and that's wonderful. So great.
There are also the tree, like on the right, it's a protected tree. we are going to keep this tree and, make the house as far as possible from that tree. We will have like, if you see the E-lawn area around this tree, we are going to make some landscape around the tree, make the frontage nicer, even though we have to have a driveway there.
Yep, understood. Thank you. I appreciate your response.
Thank you, Ms. Heap. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Can I follow up with the applicant really quickly? I was curious about whether or not you'd considered using permeable pavers for the driveway, which might have a little bit, might help a little bit softening and also help with drainage and things like that.
Because of the heritage tree on the right, the arborist want, as less impact on the tree. So we have to, because of this, we have to use, for example, the pier foundation for the garage and also gravel driveway to like make it a less impact for the tree, heritage tree.
Sorry, I saw the word gravel on the plan, but it didn't look like gravel in the picture, and I think I was sort of oversampling on the picture.
The rendering was done earlier before the conversation with the arborist. If it's necessary, we can update the rendering.
Commissioner Sillen.
Thank you. This is a unrelated question regarding sorry, let me find the page number here. A4.8 has like these 3D renderings of the proposed home with red lines highlighting the daylight planes. And then on pages A 2.3 and 2.4, there's like the roof plan and floor plan with some red lines surrounding it. And I just want to double check to make sure we're not missing anything, but it appears that some of the structure appears outside of those red lines, which I assume kind of demarcate like setbacks. So I was just wondering if, I think we had a previous hearing recently where there was some roof rafters going past those lines or something like that, which is allowed. So I just want to clarify with staff what those were.
Yeah, so on the A2.4, the roof plan, sometimes it's difficult with these angled lots to, look straight down the property line to show the daylight plane in a way that's easy to read. It kind of reads like an elevation map where the lines are a new elevation. So that's supposed to show a slope, like the slope of the daylight plane. On the roof plan, it's just a little bit difficult to you have to do some mental gymnastics to think about it spatially. But it is a compliant house. The elevations also kind of show, so on page sheet A4.3, that also shows the daylight plane with the angled property line. And you can kind of see it a little better where the house is compliant with those daylight plane lines.
Okay, thanks. So just to make sure I understand, it sounds like it's more of how the drawings are done versus there being an actual something exceeding those lines.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Please go ahead. Yep.
Page A4.8, we did a 3D model. You can see the daylight plan on this sheet. The red 3D. Yeah. A4.8.
Yeah, so on that one, the bottom, it's a quadrant, and the bottom left shows what I believe is sort of the garage exceeding some of the red shape. Does that mean anything?
That's like the eaves encroachment to the setback is allowed. But on the second floor, the eaves does not encroach the daylight plane.
I see. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. I don't have any more questions.
Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair Eric. I think after reviewing the plans and confirming that everything in this project meets the zoning requirements that the city sets forth, and that the reason that we're here is solely because the lot is substandard with regard to width, excuse me, and area. I think the work has been done to sort of meet the city's standards, and I'm proposed to make a motion to approve the use permit as recommended in the staff report.
I'd be happy to second that. Don't need to repeat everything you said, but I do look at that very carefully to the data table, and they're meeting or exceeding all setbacks and heights and preserving trees and all the things. And so I have no doubt that when this project comes to life, there will be lush landscaping as much as allows in the way that the cul-de-sac kind of dimensionality works is with the smaller pie-shaped front yard. Thanks.
Okay, I see no other commissioner comments, and we do have a motion and a second. So I'm going to call the vote on item F1. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Doe,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also yes. That is 7 yes votes and none opposed. Item F1 passes. Thank you very much, Missy. That brings us to item F2, which is regarding a use permit at 1055 Sherman Avenue. At this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to demolish an existing single-story, single-family residence and detached garage and construct a new two-story single-family residence on a substandard lot with regard to lot width and area in the R1U single-family urban zoning district. Determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines section 15303's class 3 exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures. The proposal also includes an attached accessory dwelling unit, which is a permitted use and not subject to discretionary review. The staff planner for this item is Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, are there any updates to the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Eric and members of the Planning Commission. Since the publishing of the 1055 Sherman Avenue staff report, we have received 2 items of correspondence, both of which have been printed and are available at the table in the back of the room. First, one email from Maria Flaherty was sent directly to the Planning Commission on Sunday, expanding on an email she sent earlier in the project review process, which is included as an attachment to the staff report. Like the original email, the new correspondence objects to the proposal, in particular, the size of the ADU or accessory dwelling unit and the associated heritage tree removal. Ms. Flaherty also states that she did not receive any outreach from the applicant team and contrasts that with her own experience with an addition to her house where they knocked on all the doors on the street. Second, staff received a letter from Lee and Francine Peck this morning, which was forwarded to the Planning Commission via email. The Pecks expressed concern with the loss of the heritage tree and suggest municipal code changes regarding ADUs to potentially address neighbor concerns with similar projects in the future. And this concludes the staff updates, although we're happy to address any questions from the Commission. The applicant team relayed before the meeting that Bill Maston, architect, and Moran Jamail, pardon me if I did not pronounce that correctly, would be in the chambers tonight. And Greg Polisi, also from the architecture firm, would be available online. The team The applicant team does not have a presentation, but is also ready to respond to potential commission questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Before we move to public comment, do any commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff or the applicant on this item? Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair Eric. I have a small clarifying question for the applicant. This is with regard to the project description letter, which is dated August 12th, 2025, and starts on page 130 of the staff report. That letter says, quote, "The proposed project at 1055 Sherman demolishes the existing residence and replaces it with a new 3-bedroom, 2-bath main residence with an attached 2-bedroom, 2-bath ADU and 2-car garage." I'm assuming that's just simply a typo because the plans and the description in the staff report indicate that it's a 3-bedroom, 3.5-bathroom house with an ADU of 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I just wanted to note the discrepancy.
Sorry, if you could just adjust the microphone up so we can pick you up on the audio.
I'm pretty sure there's 3, if I'm reading this correctly. Hang on there. Hang on, I'll find it. Perhaps I am referencing an incorrect page. Yeah, one page 121 in the staff report appears to have 3 ensuite bathrooms upstairs. Okay, cool. Just for public record, can we just make sure that that gets into the notes clarifying? Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Schindler. Are there other clarifying questions from commissioners? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Turner, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period for item F2?
Yes, once again, if you would like to give comment on this item, F2, and you are participating via Zoom, please click the raise hand button on the bottom of your screen or *9 if you are calling in. If you would like to give public comment in chambers, please hand me a speaker card. We don't have any online speakers, but I will give you a second. We have one comment card for in-person comments. Robert Conlon, if you'd like to provide your comments. Sorry, just 1 second. Can you get a little bit closer to the microphone? It's not picking up. I think so.
B1, the map of the project and its surrounding neighborhood. All of the lots on our block, as well as the block across the street, the triangular block, are all 5,500 square feet or below, except for just a couple on the end, which are odd shaped and slightly larger, maybe 6,000 square feet. All of the homes on our block typically are at the most 2,400 to 2,500 square feet. The newer ones that were built in the last couple of years are more in the 2,800 to 2,900 square foot range. Again, this house at almost 65% on NFAR ratio to the lot size is massive and not at all in keeping with the size of the neighborhood and the lots that are there. A 2,400 square foot house, 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, plus a massive 1,200 square foot attached 2-bedroom, 2-bath house for almost 3,600 square feet is completely overbearing for the neighbors. Most, impacted myself and the two other direct neighbors. We would ask the Planning Commission not to say they can't build a new house or anything like that, but ask them to reduce the total size of the house to something under 3,000 square feet and keep the heritage tree marked as number 6 on the plan done by the arborist. I want to note, I believe the arborist was commissioned by, and the arborist report was commissioned by the developer. In that report, which is not reflected in the city's write-up on this project on page 3 and the city's grid, both tree 6 and tree 14 are in good condition per the arborist report. And we're hoping those can both stay. If either needs to be removed, we'd like them to be replaced with something that's comparable. Thank you for your time. And I hope that if you were in the same position and you lived in a house and something next door like this came in that was, 1.5 to 2 times the size of most of the houses on the block and the neighboring blocks, that you guys would be receptive to asking for the developer to work with you in reducing slightly the total size of the structure. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. At this time, we do not have any additional public commenters.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Turner. In that case, I'm going to close the public comment period for item F2 and move us into commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding the use permit. Commissioner Sillen.
Thank you. One of the things I was looking into with this project is the ADU. It sounds like some of the things we're talking about, such as that heritage tree being a ministerial approval to have it removed, are because of some of the state laws regarding ADUs. And I was surprised because in my head, as someone that had built an ADU, I had this number in my head that, the state kind of says you can have a lot of exceptions to the city rules for ADUs up to 800 square feet, but over that, it gets a little more tricky. I saw that in the data table, staff put a note that in this case, it is a larger ADU, but since the total FAL and building coverage is only exceeded by 100 square feet, then, or 800 square feet or less, it's allowed. So then I went to the city website where we talk about single family residence ADUs. And on there, it says that, there's like attached ADU requirements, and where it says permitted to exceed FAR and lot coverage maximum, it says yes, if ADU is 800 square feet or smaller, which kind of aligned with was my understanding. But when I looked at this actual city code that was cited there, it does seem that our code does in fact say that it's not about the size of the ADU, it's about how far you are exceeding the floor area or building coverage. And as long as it's 800 square feet or less for an attached ADU, that is allowed. So I wanted to like highlight that to staff as a potential discrepancy between what our website is saying, what the code says, and also just confirm that my understanding is correct. I'm sorry, I forgot who the staff member was for this project, but that question is for them.
I believe it's Mr. Rogers.
Oh, yes.
Hello. Yes, it's certainly a little confusing, and I think there are some elements of our webpage summary that are not fully accurate. And as a overarching point, the city does know that there are some aspects of our ADU ordinance that are not fully reflective of the most recent state laws. And so the commission and the public will see some updates soon. For everything we're talking about with this project, I believe the code is accurate and in compliance with the state law. And so there's two things with size. There's the overall size for all buildings on the site. And for that, for an attached ADU, even if your ADU is larger than 800 square feet, you're able to deduct 800 square feet, or not deduct, but essentially go over by 800 square feet for the floor area limit and building coverage. And then for the ADU itself, for an attached ADU, the limit on the size is either 1,000 square feet or 50% of the main unit, whichever is larger. And so for this particular project, for the ADU size limit itself, it is the 50% of the main unit size that is most applicable. And this attached ADU is below that. And then going back to the overall size of both buildings put together, that's where the 800 square feet overage or exceedance is applicable. So you can have an ADU that's more than 800 square feet, and then deduct, essentially not have to count the 800 square feet, but that doesn't mean that the size of the ADU is non-compliant, if I've managed to confuse you thoroughly. But yeah, we did go back and forth on it, and it is the code that is most applicable, not any website summary.
Yeah, thank you. That's, yeah, so I guess just a note for staff, it sounds like you're aware, but the website seems to need updating to be aligned with the code. And is it correct to say that is that particular way of looking at it where it's not about the size of the ADU itself, it's more about how far you're going over the total allowed building coverage and FAL for the lot? Is that required by the state, or is that something Menlo Park did as sort of a slightly different yet state compliant thing? Because I was also looking at the state ADU handbook and I didn't see language mentioning that, but it's, you know, it's like a lot of pages, and there's also the state code, and I didn't go that far.
Yeah, that particular aspect is a good question. I don't necessarily, having not been involved with the original ADU update, I don't know whether that was a difference from the minimum state requirements. And if it was a difference, I don't know whether it was an intentional difference or not. But certainly in the, I think that's a fair question for the pending ADU updates to ask whether this particular element is something that state law requires, or whether it's something Menlo Park is going above and beyond. And if it was the latter, you know, that could be an appropriate point to consider changes, but they would only be, typically those would only be applicable to new projects if they did change. And there's a little bit of speculation going on there, but the upshot is I'm not sure if that is different than the minimum state requirements or something extra.
Okay, thanks. And then just one follow-up question on that is it correct just to confirm that the heritage tree that's being removed, I believe number 6, that big one in the backyard. Essentially, if an applicant, it's based on what I saw in the staff report, it sounds like if an applicant submits a plan and decides to put an ADU where there's a heritage tree currently, they essentially can ministerially have that heritage tree removed without any sort of option to appeal or anything like that. Is that correct?
I will, I'll ask our city attorney to jump in front of me if I get too far over. This was the subject of a lot of discussion at the heritage tree review phase. There was an accidental notice of essentially the staff issued a notice to neighbors saying, you know, we're pending approval and you can appeal this. And a number of people reached out to us saying they did have concerns. And so we spent a decent amount of time reviewing the state requirements and local requirements. And Miriam, if you feel a little more comfortable jumping in here, I'll defer to you.
For sure. It has been the subject of great discussion. So we can impose objective standards. We're developing objective standards for tree removals, for heritage tree removals. But as things stand, state law supersedes discretionary requirements for ADUs. So in this case, absent objective tree removal standards, this tree can be removed to build an ADU.
Thank you for answering all my questions. I don't have any other questions. Just my thoughts are, I hear, you know, this was the item in this for this meeting where there was a significant number of comments from neighbors, and I understand that this project is rather large and there's a big tree being removed that, you know, we like our trees in Menlo Park. I'm one of those people. But I'm also hearing from staff that this project is compliant with our own code. So at some point in the past, we updated our code to allow these essentially larger ADUs. And this project is in compliance with that. It's also overall in compliance with all the, you know, zoning regulations, development standards, et cetera. So I understand the frustration. However, it seems to me that we have little room to, you know, really change things drastically in this case. But I would like to hear from other commissioners to hear their thoughts.
Commissioner Doe.
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow up on that discussion that Commissioner Sillen initiated about the ADU lending itself to the situation where there can be no appeals. I just want to confirm through the chair with staff that all that notwithstanding, there is still a required tree replacement of a certain value to replace that large heritage tree, that aspect of the process is still in place?
I'm going to look it up while we're talking. I believe that the city's mitigation measures do apply. There are some options for in lieu fees. And so I'm going to look at what the city arborist determined in this particular case. I am seeing that the replacement is approved with an in lieu fee. I'm going to look in the detailed notes to see if there's an amount. There are certain provisions for, yeah, it looks like they're due to site constraints. These are the arborist notes. Due to site constraints, the full in lieu fee of $13,200 is required prior to permit issuance. I don't see that having been paid yet, but based on that language, it looks like the city arborist looked at what's available on the site for potential replacement locations and made a determination that the in lieu fee was most appropriate, which is allowed by our heritage tree ordinance.
Thanks for clarifying that. And when you say the arborist looked at the site, are you saying that the arborist determined there was not enough space for a heritage size tree to be healthy in the long term? Or is that an option that the applicant team opted for?
I'm speculating a little bit, but in my experience, it's most likely the former, where the city arborist is using their own judgment and looking at, you know, as you said, well, whether a heritage tree replacement is actually going to thrive. You know, and there can be other trees, other heritage trees, shade, structures, other reasons, various reasons why a replacement is not going to do well. And I do believe it is the city arborist decision and not something that the applicant gets to decide on their own.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. And I did want to also reference a comment from a neighbor on the other street, the rear neighbor who shares the rear property line. And I believe some smaller screening plum trees are being removed. And there was a suggestion that some planting might be planted there in addition to the fence. So I just wanted to ask through the chair, the applicant team, design team, if that is an idea that's amenable to the design, to add a little bit more greenery and trees to the site, maybe at a place on the property where there's not a built structure proposed?
Yes, we would entertain the idea of placing strategically additional landscape shrubs or trees. Typically, what our team does, though, under construction is once the building has been framed and we can see the structure as well as the views from windows and so forth, that's where we do our final determination for placement. But being out on the site, it is a rather, you know, small site. We're not talking about a 1 acre site here. We don't want to overcrowd the site with the replacement. And in this discussion with the arborist before, it was their recommendation that we pay an in lieu fee so it could go to better use in the community.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I do have a follow-up question for the applicant. I apologize for not getting you before you sat down. Through the chair, along the back fence line, there's also reference to there being a recurring issue with drainage. Has there been any analysis done to understand if there is a drainage issue on that back side of the lot, and if so, what it is?
So, as with all our projects, we initiate a preliminary design review to know that it will work, but we have not yet hired our civil engineer to do the final construction documents, but it will be addressed since it's been identified.
So just for clarity, so that happens at what stage in the construction process?
It will happen prior to issuance of a building permit, because I'm sure planning staff and public works will make sure that that's done.
Okay, so that gets analyzed and a solution is identified, and then whatever landscaping goes potentially incrementally on top of that low drainage area
Yes.
wouldn't be subjected to, you know, essentially being waterlogged because the drainage issue would have been addressed.
Right, and sometimes even it creates a need to specify certain plant material that enjoys the water. So our landscape architect usually will weigh in on that.
Okay, thank you for that additional detail.
Commissioner Farrick.
Thank you, Chair. I actually just more have a comment that while this ADU is larger than we typically see, the main house is smaller than we typically see for this size of development. And so it's kind of an interesting and new thing for us to see. The main house is about 1872-ish, give or take, square feet. And so we have seen this size of development on similar size lot. It's just typically more in the form of a 4-3 or a 5-3 with a 1-1 or a 2-1, not a more balanced development. And so, I guess I would encourage us not to get too hung up on the specific size of the ADU and look at it as a composite, and it's a kind of a new kind. It's all like a duplex is really kind of what it is. And so it's. I just wanted to make that comment that's as Mr. Rogers was talking through kind of the overall how calculations are done. While I recognize it's a change in the neighborhood, I also appreciate that this particular building height is 3 feet and 4 inches shorter than what it could be, which is nice for that kind of massing perspective too. So just wanted to add those comments that I think there's some food for thought there.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Those who have been to many of these meetings will feel like I've been saying this too many times, but the reason why this item is on the agenda at all to come before a planning commission is because it is on a substandard lot. And if either we had different minimum requirements for what is allowed to live on in Menlo Park, or if this lot happened to be larger, they would never come before a planning commission. And some people may genuinely feel that large houses belong on large lots and small houses belong on small lots. And that perspective, in my opinion, particularly, concerns me from an equity standpoint. It's almost tautological that residents of Menlo Park who live on larger lots are likely to be more wealthy than those on smaller lots. And I don't want to be in the position of being punitive or punishing people just because they happen to live on a smaller lot to say what size house they could otherwise live in, as long as they're adhering to the same standards of height and setbacks and everything, which this house certainly does. And so to that end, and I guess another response to neighbors who feel like this house would be categorically different from those in the existing neighborhood, I would posit that the neighborhood can change over time. And if we have a house that is more than 2,500 square feet today, or even more than 3,000 square feet, then the next house that's built could also do that. And then the nature of the neighborhood would just allow for homeowners themselves to decide what size house they live in, and not necessarily be mandated by the city. So to that end, I'm willing to support this permit if others agree with me.
Commissioner Baruzzi.
I am willing to support this too. I do feel like there was a little loosey-goosiness around the drainage issues, and I wonder if we need to get assurance from our staff through the chair that they will indeed require that the drainage issues be evaluated and redressed as part of the planning and building permit issuance.
Mr. Rogers, can you comment on that?
Yes, so we touched on that briefly in the staff report in the correspondence section, because that was one of the neighbors' stated concerns. The Public Works Department did review the conceptual plans that are available now, and did determine they met sort of the basic minimum requirements for this stage, which is again more of a conceptual stage. And so then moving forward, the project would be required to meet all of the public works requirements associated with that, and the detailed drainage review would happen at the building permit stage, and that would be ensured by conditions of approval. Getting to that page. So the 1D, it shall require comply with all the requirements of the building division, transportation, engineering division, transportation division. So that does lock in general engineering review, and then 1G requires specifically the applicant to submit a grading and drainage plan concurrent with the building permit plan. And that shall be approved by the engineering division prior to issuance of the permit. And broadly speaking, the engineering division is looking at the ensuring that the pre and post project water outflow from the site to the public right of way is no greater. So what's currently coming off the site cannot be increased. And then the second is that the water should not be shunted off to other properties. So it should, for anything that's currently coming to the street, that can remain but not be increased, and flows to the other properties are not permitted as a general explanation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with lots that has been said here. I'll also just note, I think we've been through this before with evolving city rules and regulations and laws, that it's difficult because we have to evaluate projects at a point in time. And at that point in time, there are certain laws on the books, but it's also the case that it is important for the city to be reactive, hopefully proactive, in terms of how the city's goals are changing and what laws should be updated, how the applicable regulations from other jurisdictions, our parent jurisdictions, are changing as well. And so I understand that it's difficult as rules change, but it's also the case that it's right and correct that they change. And I think staff does a great job in keeping things up to date, changing where appropriate. I'm excited for the new ADU regulations that I hear in the pipe, even though I realize it can feel a bit difficult to members of the public that different projects proposed at different times are essentially graded on different scales. But I think that's better than the alternative. So I'll leave that there. Commissioner Sillon.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to echo what you were saying. I think looking at the data table, echo what the chair was saying. Looking at the data table, the square foot maximum per the zoning ordinance for this lot would be 2,000 square feet. And as I believe one of the public commenters mentioned, that's sort of roughly the size of most of the newer homes in that neighborhood. And the reason this home is going over that number is because of an update that we made to our own city code at one point to allow for ADUs as required by the state. So presumably, at least what we see in this commission these days is it's very rare to see a project that doesn't take advantage of like almost maxing out the square footage of a property, even adding a basement sometimes to go beyond or whatever people can do. So assuming that trend holds, I'm going to assume that any other development that takes place on that street of this nature will also be going for a similar size home. And yeah, I think we typically as a planning commission look at it as, like Vice Chair Silverstein said, it is a substandard lot. However, it does meet all of our regulations. This is a use permit application where we're kind of looking at general neighborhood and city impacts. And I think from that perspective, this project does not seem to pose any sort of detriment to that. Regarding shading and plants, yeah, I think we had a situation a couple months ago where we were considering, is it appropriate for the Planning Commission to require like a particular plant species, or like, I think we had debate about what's a shrub, what's a tree, but it's just, yeah, I think my takeaway from that meeting was that, yeah, it's very tricky if we start requiring some sort of specific plant at a specific place in terms of property rights and what that means, and kind of like what the architect was saying earlier. Let's say that the drainage plan or analysis rather, shows that a lot of water is going to the back of the lot, and we have required a particular type of plant to be put there, but then it ends up dying because there's too much water, and it's a paradox because now the building owner cannot put a different plant there because we made a condition. So I do sympathize with the privacy concerns, and I'm really hoping that the neighbors can work that out or find solutions on their side of the property. And I just wanted to kind of try to explain why we might not be putting conditions like that.
Commissioner Baruzzi.
I wanted to say a follow-up thing and underscore what one of my colleagues, I don't remember who, mentioned. I do think it's always a little strange when there's the first or second big house goes up in a neighborhood where people who've been living there for a long time are living in maybe more modestly sized homes. And it does feel like a change. And we do hear things like the neighborhood character. This doesn't fit in with the neighborhood character. And I sometimes wonder what we mean by character. So if we're talking about the architectural character, then that's definitely a change. But I think sometimes what people are actually talking about is, a big building sort of implies maybe different kinds of people that have a lot more money than we have, or, we've been here a long time, they're new. And this is an interesting case because this is not, in effect, a 6,000 square foot single family home. It's not, which is the kind of thing that we have seen here frequently, also in neighborhoods with 2 and 3 bedroom bungalows. It's two family homes. Or it's even, if I may be so bold, given the ensuite bathrooms, it's 3 grad students and, a family downstairs. And I think that could add a different kind of diversity. And frankly, it gives the potential for Bay Area middle class people to still live in homes in the Bay Area, which we don't see as much anymore, since something like 90% of what we see here are single family homes that are being maxed out. So I just would put that out there. I know it's, if I were living next door, there are things about this project that might give me pause too, but that's another way of thinking about it as you're imagining who might live next door and who might join your neighborhood. And when my husband and I were young and we were looking for places to live here, we would have been really excited to move into that ADU. So.
Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate the comments made by all of the commissioners here tonight, and I won't repeat them, but I am supportive of many of the things that have been said with regard to this project meeting the standards that are set by the city, even if it sort of looks and feels different. And I appreciate Commissioner Baruzzi's forward-looking vantage point about who might, at some point in the immediate future or the longer term, inhabit a housing like this. To build on something that Commissioner Sillen said, I think there is language alluded to in the staff report about how we might handle putting some privacy, some hedging along the far back of the lot without getting into that sticky spot you were referencing about identifying a species or a specific height. I believe the staff report refers to, just including a condition that either the existing screening is retained or replaced in order to help ensure some degree of privacy along the back line. So given that recommendation from staff, which I think reflects a number of comments, I would be prepared to make a motion that supports the use permit as laid out in the staff report with the condition that the existing landscape screening could be retained or replaced with new plantings as appropriate for the location.
Thank you, Commissioner Schindler. I'm just going to quickly ask staff, probably it's a question for Mr. Rogers, if staff is comfortable with the clarity of that language.
Yeah, that's that is typical. That is something we've seen in other projects, allowing for the overall intent to be required, but allowing the precise execution to be deferred to address the situation in the future. So yeah, I think we are comfortable structuring the specific language of that condition within the context of similar conditions that have been added to other projects in the past.
Great. Then we have a motion. Thank you. I apologize. We're not allowed to take continuing comments from the public. So unfortunately, that's correct. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to address that directly. Thank you, though. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to stop. Thank you.
I'll second the motion on the table. And I might also make a comment that probably the appropriate place to have those conversations outside of the context of public comment would be with our planning staff, right? That this is something that they do. So I hope people will avail themselves of our staff's availability and accessibility.
Thank you, Commissioner Bruzzi. We have a motion and a second, and I am looking around and not seeing any other comments, in which case I will call the vote on item F2 and the motion by Commissioner Schindler. Commissioner Bruzzi.
Yes.
Commissioner Doe.
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler.
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen.
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also a yes. That is 7 votes in favor. Item F2 passes. We will now move on to item F3, which is regarding a use permit at 308 Yale Road. At this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to demolish an existing single-story, single-family residence and detached garage and carport, to construct a new 2-story single-family residence on a substandard lot with regard to minimum lot width in the R1U single-family urban residential zoning district. Determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines section 15303's class 3 exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures. The proposal also includes an attached accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, which is a permitted use and not subject to discretionary review. The planner for this item from staff is Mr. Pruder. Mr. Pruder, are there any updates to the staff report?
Good evening, Chair Eric, Planning Commissioners, members of the public. Matt Pruder, Associate Planner. There is one update I'd like to share at this time. Following the publication of the staff report, staff received one email comment letter, and I have shared that with the Commission via email, but I've also provided copies at the back table within the council chambers for any members of the public interested in reviewing that comment. And quickly going over that comment letter itself, the commenter is commenting from the property on the left-hand side neighbor at 316 Yale, and expressed concerns with potential impacts based on light and loss of light, privacy for the neighboring properties, 1-story bedroom and bathroom windows, and also screening additionally for privacy regarding trees and landscaping. And in addition to that, there were questions and concerns about driveway access, given the configuration having a shared system of curb cuts for the 316 and the 308 properties, having one larger driveway that they effectively share. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll also add beforehand that we do have in the applicant team in the council chambers, the project architect, Steve Simpson, is in attendance today, and he's not providing any presentation, but is happy to answer any questions. So myself, staff, and the project architect are available with any question, any answers to questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pruder. Before we move to public comment on this item, do any commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff or the applicant? Okay, Mr. Turner, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period for item F3?
Yes, so if you would like to give public comment on item F3 and you are participating via Zoom, please click the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen, or *9 if you are calling into tonight's meeting. If you are in chambers and want to give public comment, please fill out a comment card and hand it to me. And at the moment, we have 2 comment cards. Two comment cards, so we can start with those. No online commenters at the moment, but we can start with Hugh McDonald in council chambers.
I'm the next door neighbor at 300 Yale, and I've learned a lot here in these first 2 things. I learned, number one, that I live in an ADU, at least size-wise. It's kind of amazing to see how things have grown up. In our time, the neighborhoods just boomed up bigger and bigger and bigger. Anyway, my concerns are my foundation is right next door, and the ADU is now 4 feet away instead of 5 feet or the standard setback. And 2 concerns were there that my foundation, the construction procedure doesn't vibrate the soil like I've seen before and cause my foundation to even move further than it has through the earthquake of '89. And also about the ADU, I know you can't revise it, but I'm hoping that it's fireproof, that it's got like stucco or some other method of containing any possible fire to make it safe, because our bedroom's right next to it, and so that's a concern. And I assume the view from the second floor and the sun and all that stuff has been figured out from the plans that were sent to me. It looked pretty good, but I don't know anything. And we love the big tree that's staying. But I also don't understand how the parking is handled. So that's a question. I don't know how to find out about that. That ADUs got to have parking, I assume, and then the people in the other house have to have parking. Where do all those cars go? That's a question I have also. I think that's it.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be David Stahl.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm also new to Menlo Park, so appreciate the learning tonight and appreciate your time. I'm the owner at 316 Yale Road, which is immediately to the north or northwest, I guess, of the property. The primary concern I had, if you look at A3, you can see the alignment of the second story windows. Because we're discussing the substandard lot width, I think that this is an issue that's relevant to the commission. The rearmost window on our house is our primary bedroom window, and the next one is our children's bathroom window, and those windows line up directly across, it appears, on that drawing from the new proposed structure on the second floor. The current house is a 1-story, so we don't have any privacy issues. The question I would have, I guess, for the commissioner, for staff, would be, it has seemed like reading historical that sometimes that windows sills are raised. These are proposed at 3 feet, which I think is on A8, that sometimes they're raised to 4 foot or 4'8" to increase privacy, or sometimes use opaque glass in the requirements. Alternatively, I think we have a close house on the other side of us, and we both have screening trees that go up to the second story on that. So even though our houses are quite close, it's quite lovely. We have like trees between the 2 houses, and I would be amenable to that as well. And I realize that the commission is limited in their requirements, but I felt like, given that we're discussing the substandard lot, that these are relevant issues. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. And this will be last call for online public comment. If you would like to raise your hand.
Sorry, is this a public comment or?
No, I'm Steve Simpson. I'm the architect for the project.
Okay, got it.
I just like to address a couple of the.
We would definitely like to hear from you, but I'm going to ask you to wait until the public comment period closes. Thank you very much.
With that, I don't have any online hands raised and no more public comment cards.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to close the public comment period for item F3 and move us into commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding this use permit. I will go ahead and start that discussion and ask Mr. Simpson if you could now come and please educate us. That would be great. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. My name is Steve Simpson. I'm the architect for the project. We got the letter earlier today from the neighbor at 316, and we're more than happy to work with screening. We think we've done a fairly good job of having the windows on the sides of this project pretty modest. And we'd like to keep the window in the side window in the master bedroom just to provide some cross ventilation and some additional light. But we're more than happy to work with our landscape architect and the neighbor to do some.
Sorry, can you just raise the mic?
More robust.
Thank you.
To do some more robust screening that should accomplish that. And in terms of the driveway access, no problem. I mean, I'm sure during construction, we're not going to want to have any issues blocking that driveway. To the neighbor on 300, your foundation will be fine. We won't be causing any unnecessary vibration. It'll work out fine from a fireproof standpoint. The new house will be fire sprinklered. It's got, it does have stucco on the sides, so I think you'll be safe. I know you'll be safe, at least from our house. So, but other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions any of y'all may have. I don't want to go blow by blow with the house. You guys look at enough of these, but let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Commissioner Doe.
Thank you, Chair. Is that a call for comments from the commission?
Oh, yes, sorry. We're in commission discussion now. I made the first comment and asked Mr.
Oh,
to
thank
speak.
you. And thank you to the architect, Mr. Simpson, for really answering, I think, a lot of my concerns based on what the neighbors were concerned about. I also just wanted to comment the renderings on these were really nice with those corner windows and the light. And you can definitely tell it's coming out of the back, overlooking the rear yard in the front. And so not, like you said, imposing on the neighbors on the side. And this is a little bit off topic, but I just wanted to point out that these perspectives or renderings, they show the view as you would see it from the street as a human. And so there's perspective. And there were some comments on the previous house saying how big it felt. And I would just want to point out that the second project we saw, the previous one, there were no renderings. They were views with parallel projection. And when you don't do perspective, things can look a lot bigger and bulkier. So I just wanted to make a note that how these projects are presented can really affect our own emotional responses to them, and just for people to keep that in mind, because different designers may share the projects differently. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Doe. Commissioner Farrick.
I wasn't quite sure I was ready, but I'll go for it.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I guess I'm trying to formulate the side setback for the ADU is 4.1. And I was looking for the right plan sheet. I think the setback for the second story needs to remain 5 or more feet. Is that right, staff? I think. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And then the other question I had was there was some concern that the windows lined up, and I'm not sure that's the case. It's hard to tell, but I just wanted to. It sounds like the architect was trying to clear that up, but I didn't quite understand. So, and I guess my other question would be: that one of those second story windows that I think is of concern is directly over a toilet. So, would like to request that be an opaque type of a glass or something like that for privacy both ways. And then but if you wouldn't mind returning to the dais just to, I don't have an understanding of where the neighboring windows are. So is that something you looked at when you were trying to figure out where these windows were
We
placed?
did, and I think the neighbor at 316 probably has a little more clarity on it because he lives there and is looking at it. So, but we did look at it.
Mhm.
And whether they line up perfectly or they're slightly off, I'm not sure. There is some windows oppose each other. I think the privacy concerns are mutual, and I'm
Mhm.
sure that we'll want privacy from both sides. So that's what I'm saying. I think we'll definitely do a lot of screening in that area to provide the privacy for both properties. You're right. 2 of those windows are in bathrooms, and
I think it's one, and then 2 are over each end of the bed.
there's one on the side of a bed, and one's in a bathroom, and one's in a toilet room.
Yeah. Okay.
But the ones, particularly the ones in the toilet area or the smaller bathrooms, we have more options for privacy there. And the windows are already higher up off of the
Mhm.
floor there.
Yeah, I
So
saw
we
that.
tried to where we could.
Great. That's helpful to know that privacy is part of the planning on this both ways. That's kind of all I have. I concur with many of the other comments that have already been made and ready for further comments from fellow commissioners.
Commissioner Sillen.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to check with staff about the concern of blocking having a driveway blocked during construction. I guess I'm wondering, without any sort of conditions of approval being put in to ensure that that doesn't happen, what recourse would someone have if there's like a construction vehicle blocking their driveway? And in staff's opinion, does making it a condition of approvals, help that situation anyway?
Thank you for your question, Commissioner Sillen. Initially, if a vehicle is blocking access in and out of one's driveway, calling police would be probably the first option for that vehicle to be towed. That could be for a construction vehicle or any vehicle that's blocking one's driveway. There are also best management practices with respect to how the building permit plan set requires construction vehicles and construction access, loading on and off the site, and how staging would work. And so it is expected that the vehicles and those working on the construction of the site and the project would be meeting those requirements. And if there's any, incursion regarding the driveway, blocking the driveway, or access where a vehicle may go over the line, so to speak, into the neighboring property, I think those are issues that can be addressed through the building permit stage with the building division and with potentially with code enforcement if something is not legally happening in terms of the construction activities. But I would say directly on the subject of public right-of-way vehicles blocking a private driveway, that would be, a basic kind of towing kind of situation or requiring some kind of police activity to ask for the vehicle to be moved.
Thank you. Yeah, I think similar to my comment on the previous project, this project also, to echo Vice Chair Silverstein, is in front of us because of a substandard lot width. And besides that, it does meet all of our zoning requirements and development regulations. I appreciate the pictures of the letters being sent to all the adjoining houses and the house across the street. That's always nice to see. And in terms of the neighbors' concerns, I feel that they have been addressed by the applicant today. And also, it sounds like there's other recourse that Mr. Pruder just mentioned regarding driveway access. So I'm happy to support the project, but want to see if other commissioners have anything else to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Baruzzi.
I would be ready to make a motion if there are no other comments. I'm fine with it.
I have one quick question.
Commissioner Farrick.
Thank you. And then, yes, it's really directed at staff to help the public commenter understand the neighbor. parking requirements for ADUs are in fact different. However, city code is that it doesn't change in the sense there's not street parking allowed. So by nature of not having as much parking required as the city used to, will limit the number of vehicles because they would not be able to park on the street overnight. So I would defer to staff to clarify that if there's a change, and I'm not stating that correctly.
Thank you, Commissioner Farrick. Yes, initially regarding the overnight parking and on-street parking, that's prohibited overnight. And so vehicles would need to park on the property. With respect to the plan set, just going back to the site plan, it has a slightly different configuration in that the proposal is seeking to establish the two main parking spaces for the main residence within one covered parking garage for one space, and then one other parking space at a 90-degree angle, which was summarized a little bit in the staff report. But basically, those two parking spaces are recognized as the parking for the main residence. And then the other question of ADU parking, they have designated a parking space that runs basically up to the property line neighboring the 316 Yale on the left side. That is the requirement to have one parking space. The dimensions are a little smaller because it's not a covered parking space. And technically in this location, this requirement was established because the property needed one parking space. If a property is located within 1/2 mile of public transit, which requires a certain amount of headway and frequency, it could be exempted. So there are properties closer to El Camino Real, which would be near the ECR Samtrans bus, that would qualify as being exemptable for that ADU parking. And in those cases, only 2 spaces would be required. So in this case, they've provided 3 they've designated on the site plan. And this meets our requirement. ADUs only need 1 parking space, and that can be anywhere on the site as long as it's accessible with the driveway. So it can be in tandem, and that's basically the configuration we've got here.
Commissioner Baruzzi.
So I would move that we approve the use permit as described by staff.
Commissioner Schindler.
And I would second that.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other comments from commissioners, and therefore I will call the vote on item F3. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Yes.
Commissioner Doe.
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler.
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen.
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also yes. That is 7 votes in favor with none opposed. Item F3 passes. That concludes the public hearing items for tonight's meeting. I'm going to move us to the next item on our agenda, informational items. Ms. Sandmeyer, would anyone from staff wish to provide an update on upcoming Planning Commission meetings and agendas?
Yes, good evening again. So we have meeting scheduled on October 6th, and that is canceled as we don't have any items. And then the next meeting will be October 20th. For that meeting, we tentatively have a right-of-way abandonment and a use permit for a single-family home. But likely there will be additional items as we get closer to publishing the notice and agenda. And that concludes my updates, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sandmeyer. Are there any questions from commissioners? Do commissioners want to bring up any other informational items? Okay, seeing none, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:34 p.m. Thank you.